So something you and I have been texting a bit about is becoming an authoritative figure, like as a brand, right? What can a brand do and look at a creator and kind of say, okay, creators are very good at becoming thought leaders within a space, within a category, and owning something and like being seen as a resource. We've been then, because you and I both work with a lot of brands, well, then how can brands do that?
Yeah.
I would love for you to jump into examples right out the gate. I know you're working on this with current brands, and then we could share some other examples as well.
Totally. And the thesis comes from brands thinking like creators. Every single platform has changed the way that they understand your content to show it to people on what I've called an interest graph. Yeah. So this is, you and I have probably really similar interest graphs. Brand marketing, sports, comedy. So, you know, that's why we see the same podcast clips. That's why we see the same Jordan ads. That's why we see.
Is this why we have the same hooks?
Pretty much. Well, there might be another issue with that, but it's truly like how brands can connect with consumers is, you know, understanding the interest graph. And the reason that brands need to make themselves thought leaders is because people buy from thought leaders. They don't buy from teachers. So no one wants to be taught something. Right? That makes them feel stupid. They feel as though you're kind of yelling at them, or reminds them of high school when they had to learn stuff they didn't want to know. But what they do want to do is learn things that are interesting to them and learn more about those topics. And so as a brand, you have an opportunity to know intimately what your audience is interested in. If they support you, then there's very high likelihood they're going to be interested in the things that you're able to educate them on. This applies to any category, whether it's streetwear, shoes, nutrition, health and wellness, beauty, it doesn't matter. Like, you're always going to have more information to share with these people than they have themselves. And they're following thought leaders. They're following Huberman for sleep tips. You know, they're following Carnivore MD for nutrition advice, although I wouldn't recommend it. And they're following all these people. And, you know, that's why you've seen kind of the rise of the thought leader, you know, cult of personality creator. Yeah. Who has a lot of pretty basic stuff that you could just look up in a research paper, but they're making it socially native, you know? Like Huberman sharing some information from a Stanford research paper is a lot more interesting than reading the paper. And brands have an opportunity to create that same sort of experience for their audience by becoming a thought leader. So, yeah.
Couldn't agree more. There's a brand that we work with, and they have a collab product with somebody that's very, very well known in kind of like the performance space, 2-3-ish million followers. Anytime he drops, like, you know, it's a home run. And the way that we're looking at him is because they're they're high tech performance brand, right? This individual isn't everybody else that they sponsor is an athlete. Not to say you can't leverage the athletes for thought leadership. You probably can at some degree. But they have this person over here that's like the perfect character to own the thought leadership within this space. And so the way we're thinking about it, and we're working on it now with him, is like, how do we create a content pillar around you as like you're the scientist around this, you know, around here? Because very similar to what you're saying is people trust who they learn from.
Absolutely.
If I'm consistently getting, and it happens with you and I, like if people are consistently getting value out of what you're talking about, the content you're creating, they're going to trust you to buy your products, to take you to hire your services. Doesn't matter. If I see you as a resource, I then want your resources, right? Absolutely. The things that you are then pushing.
Yeah.
One thing I think is a huge, and hopefully I'm not jumping the gun, but one thing I think is a huge missed opportunity is the fact that brands don't leverage those creators as pillars within their content. A huge missed opportunity is the fact that Athletic Greens doesn't have a content series with Huberman.
Yeah.
They pay Huberman probably 7 figures a year for that sponsorship, right, on the pod. And that's great that they sponsor the pod and that they, you know, he shills the 30-second, 1-minute ad. But what if you had an only AG1 content series that lived on AG1's feed?
Or collab post with him.
Yeah.
Right.
To take advantage of the fact that he's probably the largest, him and Natia probably, like the largest thought leader in the space, and you're not leveraging that on your own social account. Like, that to me is crazy and such a wide open space. I hate that brands kind of break up the two things where it's like, hey, we have these influencers, they just need to hit their deliverables, or these thought leaders, they just need to hit their deliverables. And then we have our internal organic content strategy versus this. Like, if you look at the overarching content strategy, there's, hey, like the things that your team's producing, and then you have these influencers, how do they become part of this content strategy, and how do they have their pillars that then influence here? Doing that, great recipe for becoming a thought leader within whatever category.
You nailed it. You totally nailed it. And it's because people view influencer marketing as a performance channel and not a brand channel, you know? And if there's one thing we're going to preach about on this podcast, it's that brand marketing is the new performance marketing. We're back. You know, the cycles are, people used to think it was all about brand, and then it became performance with digital blowing up. And now that digital is like, you know, really not driving the returns that it did for about a decade, you have to be building trust and affinity with the consumer. How do you do that? You know, everyone trusts Huberman. So if he's going to be talking about your product authentically.
Except women. Women don't trust you.
And they have a reason.
But, I had 6 girlfriends.
Yeah, no, he was keeping it playa. But it's like integrating those influencers into your brand content. And, you know, a lot of brands do this, right? They try to, like Wander, who's someone that I've talked about before. They're this, you know, luxury Airbnb. I ran the numbers on their content because I was trying to pitch them on some stuff. And
did it work, by the way? I know you were trying to get.
I need to send. I'm gonna send the most fire cold email that bro's ever received. Like, seriously, he's gonna be like, "What the hell is this?" But
that'll be a whole nother segment. You got to hit that segment on the pod.
Yeah,
the cold email segment.
I will. I can hit it right now. I'll hit it at the end of this episode. But I'm waiting on the warm intro from Ben. You know Ben, dude. It's like he tells me he's got me. He sends the first email. He hasn't even hit them back. So
yeah, Ben. There's a lot of.
Follow up,
yeah, bro.
Follow up.
Too many times. Yeah, I'll come to the office on Monday. Never hear back from Ben.
But you know, with them, what they're doing that I think is really inefficient is they're relying exclusively on collab posts with influencers as their brand content. And you see this, right? They post 9 times in the last 30 days. None of it did anything. Average of like 120 likes, whatever. And even their collab posts with their influencers, like, don't do that well. You know, I did a compare contrast with them versus this brand Casita MX, who is not venture backed, you know, runs a similar business where it's like super high end vacation rentals that are not on Airbnb. It's a collection of owned properties that they do all of the booking and management for. Very similar. They're just niched into, you know, specifically Mexico. And Casita MX is running 15 million views a month organically, just by themselves, just on FPV drone shots, headlines, because they know how to make the content very shareable. They understand how to create social content. Yep. Wander could be doing the same thing. They actually have a better opportunity, in my opinion, because a lot of their destinations are US based. You know, they could be focusing on showing their products to people, but they don't invest in their organic content. And so, you know, that's a huge low-hanging fruit. And it's something that when I'm talking to a lot of these brands today, they subtly know. I think everyone kind of knows, because if you're a business person, you're seeing a lot of brand content, a lot of founder content on your feed. There's no way it doesn't reach you unless you're just really not paying attention to things you should on social. And naturally, their next question is, well, how do I create that exact type of content? And so this is how you're going to do it. So people don't buy from teachers, they buy from thought leaders, right? So they want people to educate them on topics that they're loosely familiar with, or they want to plant new ideas in their head. So, you know, it's like the meme, like I'm waiting on the All In podcast to have my opinion on this, right? Like you want to watch your favorite podcast so you can know how to talk about on this issue.
By the way, I can't stand that podcast.
It's gotten really bad now that Saks is out of it. So brands have the same opportunity to become thought leaders as creators in today's day and age. So someone like Kettle and Fire, what we've done for them is we ditched the recipe content, right? So instead we create videos around the food system. So their brand pillars are quality source ingredients, regenerative agriculture, you know, better for you protein sources. And their audience is already aligned with those interests. They know that, right? That if you support Kettle and Fire, you're going to be interested in those things as well. So instead of creating recipe content of how to use the product, we're creating content to match that interest graph, right? So we want to create videos that confirm their pre-existing beliefs. Stuff like, once you ditch processed food for good, it all starts to taste like trash. Or, you know, pointing at the food system as a cause of our obesity crisis. Now, when a competitor's brand is next to them on the aisle, what is that person going to think? Well, I saw this brand that stood for something I believe in, compared to this is just a product and you're trying to win on the shelf space merchandising. And, you know, this stuff is working like tremendously well. Like with Kettle and Fire, we have their top 3 social posts of the last 5 years have been stuff that we posted for them in the last 30 days.
It's huge.
So, it's a huge win. And this
IG or TikTok on those?
IG. And, it's a huge, and they were similar, right? All of their top performing posts were, we're doing a giveaway with this brand or this creator, or,
it's just like an engagement.
It's
bait, right?
all just engagement hacking. And what I'm here to tell you is that you don't need to engagement hack. You can actually meet customers where they want to be with stuff they're interested in, because, and this applies to smaller brands as well. If you're someone that's just getting started, you can look at your market and understand what your competitors are doing, maybe where they're not servicing people properly with their attention. And that's a gap in the market you need to exploit. See a bunch of people trying to do this with streetwear. You see a bunch of people trying to do this with, you name it, beauty products, whatever. I think in those heavily saturated places, your only chance is to become a thought leader. Your only chance is to stand out because people have affinity for you. Because if someone's way ahead of you in terms of product market fit, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, we see this all the time. All these brands are like, well, how do I get affiliates to promote me on TikTok Shop? I don't know. Start generating $300,000 a month so that they think they can make money with you. Because otherwise, you're asking for charity. Like they're going to take a free sample and make a video that doesn't make them any money. They don't care. They can make a goalie video right now and make $400.
Yeah.
So, you have to understand where these people, your audience or whoever you're trying to work with, are really coming from, and then feed them the content that'll satisfy their desires.
This is the importance of middle of the funnel content.
100%.
Where it's, at least what I classified as, is brand education, category education, or product education. Like those three pillars. And if you could own those three pillars, like you were talking about, like you did with Kettle and Fire, you're in a very good place to start influencing somebody's purchase decision.
You said brand, category, and what?
Product.
And I would add market as a fourth there. Or there's something, maybe macro as a fourth, because I think you nailed it with the middle of funnel, but brands have so much more of a top of funnel attention opportunity than they think. Like Kettle and Fire's ability to educate people on, the regenerative agriculture movement. So they source products from, farms that practice these regenerative agriculture processes, which is, reducing the water, the impact on the soil. There's more nutrients in the soil. It's better for the animals. The cattle get raised healthier. It's all these things that, realistically anyone with a brain would agree is a great idea. And their credibility comes from that they're a brand that is actually sourcing from those places, right? And so the macro environment, like if they can macro educate people on this broader movement, there you go, dude. There's your thought leader content. But it just seems like people don't, and then they try it. Like Kettle and Fire had a YouTube video where they talked about regenerative agriculture, but I promise you, they just outsourced that as like a video project. They didn't think about YouTube retention and what amplifies a video, like they didn't laser in on making that first minute as captivating as possible and like doing the YouTube stuff where it's like, and later in the video, you're going to hear about this, they just kind of made a promotion and like it didn't work. So they're like, this can't work.
And that's something we've been talking about a lot in Cut 30, and like we've been working with clients on, is this, because a lot of brands, for example, Kettle and Fire or another brand that we work with, that they think they have to go super niche in what they say. Right. And they think they have to be so direct on a specific topic. And what I'm trying to teach brands is you have to use your TAM, use your hook to open your TAM. Right. If you go very specific on something that only like a small group of people would know about bone broth, right? And like it's too nitty gritty where like I wouldn't even know, somebody that's in health and wellness wouldn't even know kind of what you're talking about. But if you're able to open and kind of leverage a different hook to open your TAM, then you're able to like increase this top of funnel potential.
Yeah.
An example would be, and this is just an example from, for example, Cut 30. Somebody made a video where it was like, here's why your cost caps are costing you like potential in your ad, something like very specific on like ads manager, right?
Yeah.
Versus you can just, and that closes your TAM, right? Like that reduces your TAM to maybe 10,000 people.
You used a keyword that I've run $40 million in Meta and I'm still not even sure what a cost cap is half the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's for somebody that's interested in paid ads, interested in performance marketing, you just got so deep that if you made a banger video, max is probably getting 20,000 views.
Yeah.
If it is a
like
10 out of 10
best of all
video.
time.
Yeah, 10 out of 10
I
video.
agree.
But if all of a sudden you just change the hook to something along the lines of like, this is what's killing your ad performance. All of a sudden you're talking to performance marketers, founders, potentially even creators that are running ads on their own shit. Like,
or CEOs.
Yeah,
CEOs who are skeptical of the
CFOs
marketing
potentially,
team.
like-
yeah, everyone's skeptical of what the marketing team's doing. So.
And so all of a sudden you just opened up your TAM by casting a much wider net. Right? So the way I want people to think about it is, if I went to a pond and I had a little scoop net, like a little small net, and I'm trying to catch fish, I'm not getting anything. It's going to take so many times of me doing it until I catch a fucking tadpole.
Yeah.
Right. But if I go in with a cast net, a 10-foot cast net, and I throw it across shore, like chances are I'm catching a lot of fish. Your hook and how you address your hook and how you leverage it to be able to address the market is the difference between that small net and the cast net.
Yeah, totally nailed it. And I love that you pulled in your Florida man background.
I had to.
It's needed sometimes. You got to flex on these people.
The crazy thing is, I've been both of these people.
What, small net, big net guy?
Yeah. When I was a kid, it was always like just being at shore, like with a small net. And then as you get older, like,
turns out when you were 8 fishing for tadpoles, you didn't know you'd be using it on a podcast 30 years later.
I knew it all come around.
20 years.
Even,
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're totally right. You have to cast a wide net. And something that, what you just did as well is, and I don't even think you thought of it because you're probably on autopilot at this point, but you built curiosity with that hook versus, there's no curiosity when you name the cost cap as the problem.
Yes.
Like when you're saying that this is the problem with your cost caps, okay, well, yes and no. It's like, I don't even know what a cost cap is, so I'm probably swiping. But if I do know what a cost cap is, I probably don't want to respect your opinion anyway, because I think I'm an expert on this already. So there is even like, when you want to get more granular, if you're saying this is the problem with your ad performance, or here's how to spot wasted money in your ad account, like that is, building a lot more curiosity for a wider group of people, which is really what the purpose of your hook is how do you evoke curiosity, foreshadow what the video is going to be about, and then get that out to as many people as humanly possible.
We had somebody on Cut 30 yesterday. I forget his name, but I think he's gotten 90 million, 100 million views on TikTok in the last 6-ish months. And he was talking about all of his hooks, right? And all of his hooks are statements that evoke a curiosity gap.
Yeah.
An example, one of the videos he made is Seed to Table is the best grocery store in Naples, Florida. Out the gate, you ask yourself why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're saying like this, and there's a few parts to it. A lot of people are going to agree. A lot of people are going to disagree.
There's an incumbent big player in Publix.
Exactly.
And so there's your enemy marketing. You're also curious to why the reason is that this David versus Goliath situation is going the way of David. I mean, there's a lot right there.
I can't believe you knew that Publix was a Florida.
I've had a pub sub.
Chicken tender? Buffalo chicken tender?
Foot long. Shoved it in my mouth.
Pause.
It was good.
Triple pause.
Yeah. No, I mean, look,
Did you like it? Oh, I need a.
That's almost more sus. You asking me, did I like it when I shoved it in my mouth?
Oh my gosh. My mom listens to this podcast.
Okay. Yeah, that was out of pocket. But I did love it. It was excellent. I don't know the scenario where you eat a pub sub though.
On the beach.
It's like, it's too big for a single setting, which I think is the point, because you want that last third for like, I didn't even think about it. It just came out. But you want that last third for later, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point, is like you want a little bit after, round 2.
Yeah. The best setting for a pub sub is you go to the beach.
Yeah.
You kick up the beach chair and you're just chilling. You have a buffalo chicken tender sub. Or post beach is the other thing.
I actually prefer getting a breakfast taco and riding around a concrete jungle like we do in Texas. It's great.
Sure.
Nothing there.
Nothing.
Nothing. So this framework applies to anything though, right? So, if I was to build a content plan for a breathwork app, here's what I would do. So I'd identify the top 3 interests that people have when seeking breathwork. It's likely stress reduction or focus or sleep aid. And now we're going to educate people on how breathwork can lead to better outcomes for those interests. But you need to get specific. It's not just that breathwork will help you sleep. It's that using breath work will produce more melatonin or reduce cortisol or prevent racing thoughts. You want to name that specific benefit people are going to get. You then rinse and repeat that across the different desired outcomes of your audience's interests. So, it's breath work. It's not breath work will help you focus. It's breath work will release norepinephrine, which is the same ingredient that caffeine releases, but without the crash. Now you apply this framework across carousels, talking head, faceless content, and you fill up the calendar with stuff that positions your brand as a thought leader, a la Huberman, while still integrating your product seamlessly.
Agreed. Like there's really nothing for me to add there. I think it's pretty dialed.
Well, people really struggle with, I hopped on a call this morning with a guy who is a product sourcing house, right? He designs products for people. And he's just baffled by what to do with marketing. And the secret is, you kind of just need to understand like the audience you're creating for, their desired interests, and then meet them where they are, which is on social. I mean, everyone's attention span is on social. It continues to consume more of that every year. And socially native formats that are interesting and educate them, that's how you're going to do it.
One of my favorite brands that does a great job of this is the more plates, more dates guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's Gorilla Mind or...
Yeah, Gorilla Mind.
Is it Gorilla Mind? Yeah. His brand is Gorilla Mind. Sneaky, huge brand.
Huge. Well, he's bigger than you think too.
Yeah, he's mega big.
Yeah.
But I don't think his brand, I don't want to say it gets the respect, but it doesn't get the notoriety of like, it is a $150 million, $200 million brand. Like it's absolute behemoth of a brand. It's all built off of thought leadership.
Yeah.
If we talk about the funnel is thought leadership. It's Derek.
Of course. It's trust.
Literally sitting there and pulling like the Huberman card and just talking to the camera and explaining things and breaking everything down and then funneling to products. And you look at Derek, you're like, I trust nearly everything you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore I just trust out the gate your supplements.
Well, and this was what influencer marketing was supposed to be, right? Is people had, trusted relationships with an audience and then you could seamlessly integrate in there. But influencers fumbled the bag big time. Like the quality of content that most influencers above 100K have put out over the last 10 years destroyed that entire industry because all they were doing was just bag chasing. They weren't actually trying to drive performance. Like maybe 15-20% of creators tried to drive performance and they instead created stuff that just was so sponsored. They just read off a script and it's on the brand as well because the brand is probably trying to constrain the creator too much. I mean, we've seen this with, our podcast ad reads even, it's like if they don't want us to, we'll script it for you. So it's like, if you don't want us to read it in our authentic voice, then that's how you get a certain, meme level of hook for one of our ads, which you might see on this podcast. And instead, you could have a podcast ad read where it feels like we didn't even break character. It feels like 30 seconds into the ad read, you don't even know you're getting sold something. Every creator was capable of that, but because of that relationship, they broke the trust of influencer marketing. I don't think there is a lot of trust now in most sponsorships. That's why you're seeing a lot of creator-led brands where the creator has, Emma Chamberlain is one. I just found out about this girl, Ashley, who has Nami Matcha. I haven't even seen her, but she's a big YouTuber. She's been drinking matcha for 10 years. Yeah. So she dropped a matcha company because she has trust.
She should.
Yeah. That's really the creator economy right now. It's not this, how to connect brands and creators that makes sense. Like that's kind of dead in my opinion. I think the grassroots stuff, TikTok Shop has done this, Instagram and YouTube. Apparently YouTube had some pretty crazy announcements at this social commerce summit like a week or a month ago.
I haven't dove through them.
They're just trying, they're going to aggressively try to clone TikTok Shop.
Interesting.
I'm bearish. I don't think Google can ship good products anymore. So I doubt that they'll do this effectively, but it just goes to show, that's a dream scenario for platforms like Snapchat, for Pinterest, for YouTube. Like the problem with those, they're just not meta. Like they'll never crack the performance marketing side and they're losing out on billions and billions of advertising revenue by not doing it. So how do they do it? They have to integrate commerce with their social network. And YouTube is but it just doesn't work. It's like no one's on YouTube Shorts trying to get, rarely
even long form. Like it's rare that my journey from long form, even if it has it sold underneath is see YouTube video, go to Instagram.
Yeah.
And then like look and then shop.
Yeah.
Like that's my journey. I don't know what it is for you, but that's mine. Even if the products are right underneath, I've never, and I'm somebody that buys, you and I probably are both people that buy a lot off of social.
For sure.
We see something, we make the purchase that moment, right?
It's the worst quality about being a marketer is I'm paying way too much attention.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and that's my excuse for everything. That's just market research.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that hoodie, market research.
Vanessa asking about the credit card bill.
One thing I want to go back to is, so we could give even, you already did, but like take some more examples and add some actionable insights for people here is what you were talking about. You have to find like that underlying reason that somebody buys your product. Then you have to say, okay, how do I then take that underlying reason and build a series, create a content pillar around that. One of the best examples in my opinion was a long time ago when we did Rare Air and we were doing Kane's content, Kane Footwear's content. The most viral video that they had was a video that we did with Matt Choi, where it was how Matt Choi warms up before doing any of his runs.
Yeah.
30-second clip. It walked him through. It was educational. It wasn't a thought leader, very much on the thought leadership side. Shot well, 1.5 million views. Very simple video. Not a hard video to execute at all, but it's the reason why people wear Canes. Mm-hmm. Warming up is part of the recovery process. Mm-hmm. People buy Canes, yes, because they look cool. They're cool to wear. They're cool to style. A lot of top athletes wear them, but their narrative is, around recovery
and prep. And I mean, that's the other thing though, is not only where does recovery start in prep?
Exactly.
It's those adjacent topics that most brands need to understand. And this is how creators think. Matt would have made that video anyway, Yep. Like he because he knew it was packaged in a way that would get to a lot of people. And if more brands can just understand that, like, we'll all be better for it. Because I can't see another features, benefits, graphic anymore.
No, not at all. And so let's take a brand like Bandit Running, for example. They had that 16-week marathon training program that we talked about a long time ago. Mm-hmm. That positions them as a thought leader in this space. Mm-hmm. The underlying goal is people are buying Bandit Running before they go run their marathons. Well, what happens if I teach you for 16 weeks on how to PR for your marathons?
Where are you going to go for your gear?
Exactly. You're going to go to Bandit Running.
But the problem is that is not a dollars in, dollars out equation. No. That is a marketing team pitching a concept and saying, we need $30,000 to execute this campaign, and we don't know how it's going to go. And everyone has become so risk averse. You hear it all the time, They're like, might not work. So I need to guarantee the ROI. And I'm like, what kind of operator are you that you think there's any guaranteed ROI in anything?
Part of being a marketer is finessing how you position things.
Absolutely.
Straight up. You then have to position that as, hey, well, what is our current cost per lead? If we were going to generate emails, how much do we typically pay for an email? Okay. If we spend 20, 30K on this and we generate this many emails, then our cost per email, our cost per lead is significantly lower than if we did it through Meta. And at the same time, these are people that are going to be, we're going to have 16 weeks of having constant touch points. And that is more so a lesson on how you can pitch big ideas to somebody and get them over the line, because a lot of great ideas never make it over the line because you don't know how to position them to get over the line. And
I'm just trying to think of how we make this more valuable for someone that doesn't have the same resources as Bandit, There are a lot of brands out there that don't have the appetite for risk, because if they whiff, they're dead.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, that's why this it really comes down to your ability to create founder content is borderline free. I mean, you can get an editor overseas for around, $1,200 to $2,000. If you can find that and listen to this podcast, I honestly think that you should be able to create founder content to position yourself as a thought leader. And, what you just described is something that, a lot of software companies do, right? Which is lead magnet. That's inherently what Bandit was creating. They're creating a lead magnet.
That's all it was.
Educational guide. Give us your email. Give us your information. Boom. We'll give you a lot of value back. That's a simple exchange.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but the worst experience in e-commerce is giving my email and SMS number for 10% off.
It's the worst.
I'm at a point where I'd rather pay full price.
It's,
you know,
because when you think about an $80 product and I'm saying
clunking
$8,
around, clicking shit, like the mobile experience breaks. I click on the customer support chat. All of a sudden, like I'm trying to autofill my information. It autofills the wrong email. Like this is broken, you know? And Klaviyo, like it's your fault, right? Like you just haven't shipped a good pop-up in, 5 years. So screw you. But like that is such a broken way to collect emails compared to something like what Bandit did, where it's like, I'm happy to give you my email now. You're not forcing me at gunpoint saying, you want that discount? You want that discount, bitch? Like,
especially on a high value product. Bandit, and I'm not saying Bandit does this. I actually don't know what their pop-up is now, but a lot of brands that have products that are $120, $150, $200, 10% off doesn't matter to your core customer.
No.
They don't care about 10% off.
No. And you don't want to give 20, right?
But now if it was like a rotating pop-up on how to style, if it's streetwear, right? Mm-hmm. How to style or something along those lines, and it's like a how to style guide.
Trend report.
That is,
if someone is interested in
much more valuable.
If someone's interested in streetwear, they're going to be interested in what are going to be the trends in summer 2025. Yes. So collecting their email that way, going to be a no-brainer. And what does that cost the brand? Well, probably, I don't know, 3 hours of the founder's time, maybe someone on their creator's time, and then some ChatGPT action, and like hopefully a designer, maybe $5,000 to $10,000. Now, if you think about what, and shout out to C4 because they're who really made me think about the P&L in this way. But it's, you got to balance like promotion opportunity costs, because if you're giving 10% off for every email, and say you drive $30,000 of email, and that's $3,000 of promo that you just gave, like, would you have had a better customer experience and long-term brand marketing relationship with your customers if you gave them the lead magnet value for the email? Yeah. And that costs you that same $3,000 that you spent the promo on. Like everyone thinks promo is just like negative to margin. It's actually an opportunity cost. Like when you're giving discounts, you're not investing that number into other things that might have a better long-lasting appeal to people.
Couldn't agree more. The discount too is you're bringing in sometimes the wrong person.
Yeah.
If you're bringing in the person that cares about trends and cares about how to style something or how to perform better, that is and I'll give another example. Cadence, they have a pop. It might be a discount, but regardless of what it currently is, they put together the ultimate guide to marathon nutrition or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I was like, turn that into the pop-up. Mm-hmm. That thing is absolutely dialed. It is a 10 out of 10 pop-up, 10 out of 10 content piece. If that is your pop-up, you are a company completely based off performance and fueling and hydration. Yeah. If you have, and your core target customer base are the people running marathons, are the people doing high rocks. If that is your pop-up, you're going to convert the right people. It's a super value dense.
They have higher intent.
Lead magnet. Yeah, but they have super high intent of, okay, if you're telling me here that I need to be consuming 1,000 milligrams of sodium, magnesium, how to have this right before, and then those are the products you then offer me, those are going to be people buying those products.
It's almost like Cadence has an opportunity to be a thought leader if they start talking about why you need potassium. I don't know. I was told to eat bananas. Right? That's it. Like back in the day. And again, it's finding these topics people are loosely familiar with and then educating them further on those things. I know I need potassium. I don't really know why I need magnesium, but if you told me, I'm sure I feel bad in some type of way that you can connect it back to mineral deficiency. Yep. And all of a sudden I now need your product. There's demand for it. You create that demand through thought leadership.
And that bridge is so strong when we're thinking about, I'm the one telling you why you need to take magnesium because of these deficiencies, and then I'm the one selling the magnesium.
Yeah.
And then I also talk about how
so there better be trust
of quality.
Right.
Exactly.
So there better be trust established in the content relationship, because if there's no trust, this is, where I kind of Armra is like the most insane marketing ever. At this point, they're telling me that I can, save my hairline and have 6 babies with, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's insane what they are able to claim. They're in a class action lawsuit because of it. They're an example of, I think, they made some outlandish claims, which very much fueled a, profitable acquisition funnel initially. They were really early with a new product. And so they would be, to me, a counterexample of what we're saying, where they didn't really try and establish thought leadership. They actually just like spammed like influencer content, made outrageous claims, you name it. And I think that's why they're a flash in the pan, right? I think Colostrum's a trend product. And don't get me wrong, their founders made absolute, racks. Like they did a great job. But I don't think that's a brand that'll be able to stick around for a long time because they weren't actually educating the background to a lot of their claims and why Colostrum did these things. They just made outrageous statements and then, put that on an ad and someone's like, yeah, my tummy hurts and I feel like I'm losing hair. And so I'm going to trust this $130 product.
There's a Twitter brand we know that's very much like this as well. Supplement company, pink packaging.
Yeah.
They are wild with
manipulating older women.
Absolutely wild with their claims. Some of the things I see, I am just like,
I'll say it.
How do you?
I don't give a fuck.
It's Avi.
Avi. Yeah, I don't care.
How do you put this shit out there?
In good conscience. How do you sleep at night?
Yeah. Some of it's the most outrageous claims I've ever seen for an ad.
Yeah. And you don't have to do that. I mean, I'm selling, I've got a weight loss client, like we've done a lot of weight loss stuff and, honestly, like collagen sells itself to the right people or fat burners sell itself to the right people. So, the more aggressive you get, to me, the more scammy you feel, to your point, brings in a certain type of customer that is not necessarily the one I want to build a brand on top of because they're going to be very skeptical of you, potentially leave a damaging review. But, same time, it can be profitable. And a lot of brands do a really good job of capping professionally.
Short-term profit.
Long-term loss.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to end this shit.
As always, please, subscribe, like, means a lot to us. We see a lot of y'all commenting without subscribing, by the way. YouTube exposes you. They give a little red dot if you're subscribed, and most of y'all are not. So that would be huge if you could subscribe for us, if you got value out of this. Leave us a review on Spotify, Apple, and we'll catch y'all next week.
We got to do some merch, bro.
Yeah, the name's too hard.